Okay, so let's just check sound. Does everyone hear me now? Just put pluses if you can hear me in the chat box. Hello, Anna. Hello, Judy. Hi, everyone. Okay, now I think you couldn't hear me because I wasn't talking, so now you can hear me. Okay, so let's start. So welcome again to the Common Digestive Problems webinar and how to solve them. My name is Lisa Hillman. I'm head of nutrition at Atlas Biomed. We have about 2 hours to talk about a very fascinating topic on gut health and microbes, and also, of course, the digestion and the problems of digestion. And also, I will give you some really useful tips, hopefully, to improve your digestion. So just a few housekeeping rules. So this is a respect zone, so let's respect each other. Please use the chat box for any kind of communication. Webinar recording, I don't know if we're going to have it, so make sure you stay until the end, because it might be that we're not going to have the recording. I don't know yet. And also, as a reward for you to watch until the end, we're going to have a bonus in the end of bonus gift for everyone at the end of the webinar. So make sure you stay until the end. And the purpose of today is really to gain more knowledge and get more understanding of your body, of your digestive system, of your microbiome. The duration, as I said, we have about 2 hours. So hopefully we're not going to run over, and yeah, I will keep time. And also there will be a quick Q&A in the end. So if you do have a question, please keep it until the end, because I'm not going to be regularly looking at the chat box. Also, there is my colleague in kind of looking at the chat box. His name is Dmitry, so he might be kind of posting some links or just replying to some questions, so that I'm not kind of distracted from the slides. But I will be keeping an eye on the chat box from time to time. So, as I said, free gift at the end, and the gift is the Secret Life of Gut Bacteria. It's a book that we have, and it's really a cool resource that we have developed with the team. So you're going to receive it for free in the end. So the program for today, what we're going to learn, we're going to talk about common digestive issues, why they can be happening, what could be the potential causes, and also, of course, how to solve them. So we'll give you some practical tips. Also, we're going to talk about what can you do today and every day to improve your gut health, and also what is the digestion-friendly diet. So hopefully by the end of today, you're going to be super equipped with knowledge and with tips from me and my team as well. So let's do quick introductions. Some of you have already started doing it, so thank you. So what I'm really curious to know is where are you watching right now? So where are you and how old are you? And now I will be having a look at the chat box. So I can see Sarah, Louise, Judy, Tavi, Anna. Hello, everyone. York, 46, London, Kent. Very nice. Huds. Okay. Okay, great. So I have an idea kind of the, I guess, demographic and where you are. So we're all pretty much in the UK. Great. So what's my next slide here? So in terms of the, I guess, whether you should be here or who needs to be here and listening to this webinar. So if you can sort of identify or relate to the following points on the screen, like bloating, if you have regular bloating or occasional bloating, constipation, diarrhea, if you have really sort of irregular toilet habits and you don't feel like you have this sort of normal consistency, I guess, if you have this feeling of like swellingness in your gut, in general in your abdomen, if you experience excessive gas and flatulence, and if that kind of affects your quality of life, then you are in the right place. a little about me. So you have introduced yourself. So I'm Lisa Hillman, as I said. So I'm head of nutrition at Atlas Biomed. By training, I'm registered nutritionist. So I studied a master's degree in clinical nutrition with the specialization in the gut microbiome at the University of Roehampton. I did it, and I really fell in love with microbiome topic and digestive health. And I did some research on probiotics, on the effect of probiotics on the gut composition, on gut health, and also on the cholesterol level. So I'm really sort of, I guess, passionate about gut health overall, but specifically the kind of probiotics effects and prebiotics effects, and in general, how the food kind of affects our digestion and our health overall. So at Atlas, what my role is, so I help people to understand the results of the microbiome test that I will be talking about later, and most importantly, just improve the diet and give practical solutions, tips, which are tailored for everyone. Because you probably have heard that we're all unique, we're all very individual, and we all have very unique sort of demands, I guess, and and preferences, and maybe allergies and tolerances. So I guess my job is to really help people to find their personalized nutrition, and I'm really passionate to help people to find their own the diet that really suits their needs, their wants, their lifestyle. So all of these things together. Okay, that's about me. So so who needs to be here? Again, I would like you now to answer yes or no to the following questions. So, can you relate to the symptoms? Feeling of pressure in the gut? Do you experience bloating after meals, or specifically maybe after high fiber meal or higher fat meal, or a particular meal you feel bloating? There is also this symptom that people often report is the feeling of bloating in the evenings. Maybe you experience some gut disturbance when you're traveling. Do you experience loose stools, infrequent stools? Maybe you experience diarrhea after taking antibiotics, which is actually quite common. Do you have a sort of constipation or lumpy or dry poop? Maybe you feel trouble fully evacuating. You don't feel this, full emptiness when you go to the toilet. So if you relate to three or more, if you answer to yes to three or more of the statements, then you are in the right place again. So I can see that you're typing here in the chat box. Yes, no, yes, yes, yes. So I guess it's kind of yes to some questions, no to some, which is kind of, I guess, what I expected as well. So digestive problems. Why are we talking about them? Well, because we know that they affect our quality of life. And unfortunately, it is quite common. I was quite shocked and surprised when I found out that 4 out of 10 people actually experience some sort of, they're called functional gut disorders, like digestive disturbances, digestive disorders. And this is not okay. 40% of people, that's a lot. And but there are things we can do. There are things that we can do to prevent and to manage. We all want to have good quality of life. So these are the things that I often see that people report when they come and see me in the consultation. So because this digestive problems become maybe like a regular thing, they feel stressed when they socialize, so they don't feel that they can just go out and enjoy the meal, enjoy the company, because they might experience the symptoms. They can't wear tight clothes. That's specifically relevant to bloating. Having a food baby, maybe you have heard of this. It's like people say I look like 6 or even 9 months pregnant sometimes. And obviously it makes it really hard to eat out, and again, socialize and enjoy yourself, and maybe travel as well. You get confused, so what do I have to eat? Is it which food items trigger this? Is it food? Is it components of food? Is it drinks? It can be really, really confusing. Having unruly bowels, you might maybe experience that you eliminate some food groups or foods, but that didn't help. And that again, it's quite confusing. You're like, okay, so what is the answer? Is it, which food is it? Of course, tummy pain, that's obviously really disturbing, and it affects the quality of life. Now, if you can leave it as it is, of course, but that can, as a consequence, that can, of course, exacerbate this poor quality of life. You can't enjoy your social life, stress going out. If it's things like diarrhea, if it's chronic diarrhea, it actually can lead to dehydration. We don't want that. If it's chronic constipation, it can lead to hemorrhoids. If it's bloating, you might feel pain. Also, it can be undiagnosed conditions, food intolerances, or some gut diseases, gut conditions. So it's really important to, like, if it bothers you, then you need to address it. I guess that's what I want to say. In terms of excessive gas and flatulence, so it can be a social embarrassing, as simple as that. And I know that we don't really talk about it, but I do see people on a regular basis that they do report this, that it affects their quality of life. And of course, it all starts with the knowledge. I think that knowledge is power, knowledge is key. And luckily, we do live in the era of information, but also there is a lot of misinformation online. And I'm really advocate of evidence-based nutrition, evidence-based information. If we don't know something, if I don't know something, I can say, if the science didn't arrive to some conclusions, I'm honest to kind of admit that. But there are things that we can learn, and that there are things that we can do today to learn about the gut microbiome, to improve the quality of life, and know your body, because knowing your body is really cool. It really helps us to take care of ourselves. I think that we're almost obliged to know about our bodies, because our bodies are there. It's our own home for life. And if you're not looking after your home, it's not going to give back. And I really believe in that mutual relation between yourself. If you take care of yourself, your body will take care of you. So let's start with some basics. I know that you came from digestion problems, but I will be talking about something called gut microbiome and gut health. And that's because it's actually really interlinked with those digestive problems. So what is a gut microbiome, first of all? It's actually trillions, and to be more precise, it's about 100 trillion of microbes living in your large intestine. Just think about it, 100 trillion. And that's your bacteria, yeast or fungi, archaea, and viruses. So lots of these microorganisms, or microbes for short, that live there, and they do a lot of good things for us, for our health. So the gut microbiome plays a role in metabolism of nutrients, skeletal muscle metabolism. And also there is even evidence that it relates to our cognitive function, to our brain function. How cool is that? It's quite a new area of research, but it's very booming right now, the connection between the gut and the brain. So the microbes in the gut are largely influenced by the food that we eat. And that's the key, because this is what we have control over. We do have control over what we put on our plates and in our mouths. Now, interestingly, gut microbiome is influenced by other things as well, by your lifestyle, by exercise, stress, travel, how you were born, like were you born naturally or via C-section, were you breastfed or not. So all of these things kind of in the past, they also play a role. But in terms of the things that we can control, it's mostly the food that we eat and exercise. But today we're going to be focusing on the food. Okay, so let's have a look at the whole digestive system. And I want to give you sort of a brief overview on different stages of digestion, because I think it's really important to have this visual picture in your mind when we're talking about these things, because they're inside of us. We don't actually, you probably have never seen, I haven't seen the actual gut or intestines. Obviously, I'm not a surgeon in my life. So it's really helpful to sort of have this picture, have this snapshot, and then have it in your mind across the webinar. So interestingly, digestion starts in the mouth. So when we start chewing the food, there is sort of two types or subtypes of digestion. So there is mechanical digestion and there is chemical digestion. So chemical is when the enzymes kick off and start the digestion in the mouth. And then the mechanical digestion is the process of chewing. What I want to say as well, there is actually a step or stage before or it's like a stage of digestion before the food enters your mouth. And this is when you start thinking about food, you start smelling food when it's usually time for you to eat. This sort of, the brain is processing, okay, the food is coming, and it starts actually this initial, even before mouth stage of the digestion. And that stage is called cephalic stage. So it's kind of the brain stage. So it's really cool how, again, our mind has, power in that sense. But physically, it is the mouth, then it is the stomach. So you can see here on the screen, it's this sort of, it sits on between our ribs. And what happens here, stomach is really important because it has these gastric juices that help to break down food and most importantly, kill some of the pathogens, because some pathogens can still get from food, but for that reason, we do have really acidic stomach. So it helps to break it down. And it's in the stomach, it becomes this very mushy sort of consistency. And then it goes into the small intestine. So small intestine, you can see here, it's kind of this in the middle, many times it's folded. That small intestine is actually really quite big. It just has a name of small intestine. So what happens here, it's actually really important because most of your digestion happens in the small intestine, most of the absorption rather. Absorption of nutrients happens in the small intestine. And enzymes continue to break the food down, and then the nutrients are absorbed. Pretty much all the nutrients are absorbed except fiber. And I will be talking a lot about fiber today. Then after the small intestine, it goes into the large intestine and it kind of goes around here. And this is where those bacteria, those microbes, trillions of them, they live there, and they break down the remaining food particles, and this is where the stool is formed. So when we're talking about gut microbiome, gut health, gut microbiome rather, we mostly talk about the large intestine, so the kind of the last part of the intestine. We don't really talk about the stomach, okay? So what is the job of the microbiome? So to turn carbohydrates into beneficial metabolites, particles like butyrate and vitamins and other beneficial compounds. It also communicates with the brain. So there is this gut-brain axis, and it breaks down dietary fiber. Fiber we find in different plant foods. These bacteria, they help to maintain the pH level, which helps to deter pathogens. So they're really important in the gut. And in general, they keep the gut lining healthy. And there is even evidence that they help to maintain a healthy body weight and healthy metabolism. So it's really fascinating how these small creatures, microorganisms, bacteria, they can really influence our health. And they're definitely not bad for us, although of course there are some bad bacteria as well. Okay, so let's talk about the first common digestive issue, which is bloating. So what is bloating, first of all? Bloating is really the feeling of increased pressure in the gut, and it can be accompanied by this sort of visual protrusion or food baby. Yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's visible usually. Good to know that there are two types of bloating. There is continuous and there is intermittent. Continuous bloating is the one that is always present. So it's sort of, no matter what you eat, no matter time of the day, you always feel bloated. That's continuous. Intermittent is more common, and it's usually present in the evenings and after a heavy meal, after a higher fiber meal, higher fat meal. Now, I do want to say that not all bloating is bad, or not all bloating is sort of sign of pathology or some harm happening. Actually, everyone gets bloating sometimes, so occasional bloating is really normal. But if it's bothering you, if it's quite frequent or quite regular, then it's actually probably not a healthy sort of sign. So bloating is often present in people with what's called visceral hypersensitivity. Quite a scientific term. Essentially what it means is a very sensitive stomach, or sorry, not stomach, gut, very sensitive intestines. It's more scientifically, it's visceral hypersensitivity. A gut that is more sensitive to pain signals than normal. And it's also common in IBS. If you have heard of IBS, that's pretty much the definition of, one of the definitions of IBS is the presence of visceral hypersensitivity. Now, as a disclaimer, I do want to say that if your bloating is continuous with absolutely no relief, it's always worth checking with GP, the doctor, to rule out any underlying issues. So, my tips to manage bloating. So, what to do when you already feel bloated. So applying heat to your abdomen can be really helpful. So like a hot water bottle or heat packs or something like that can be really helpful to sort of relax the gut muscles and to release the feeling of bloating. There is some evidence that peppermint oil capsules can help as well. The only thing you need to bear in mind, it's not the peppermint oil drops, it's the capsules, because in the capsule, it will get into your intestine and then it will work its magic. And another tip, movement and stretching. Movement is really important for our digestive system overall. Just bear in mind that your digestive system is a 9-meter tube, something around 9 meters. So it's really long. And if you imagine, it's really folded very tightly in the abdomen. So movement is really key. Whether you experience bloating or other issues, or just, in general, for general health, of course, we know that movement is really, really important. But stretching specifically can be helpful for bloating. In terms of food, nutrition, dietary things and tips, typically having smaller meals can be helpful. Now, it doesn't mean that you should eat less necessarily. You can just, let's say you have 3 big meals a day, you might try and have smaller, like 5 smaller meals. So just divide those big meals into smaller ones throughout the day. That can help people. There is something called polyols. They are they're sugar alcohols, and this is in the brackets you can see examples: maltitol, sorbitol, maltitol, xylitol, isomalt. What they are actually often added to chewing gums and to sports bars and sports supplement, because they're sugar substitutes, so they don't have as many calories as sugar, or even no calories, but they are very highly fermentable. So what it means that they can trigger more gas formation in the gut. So it's a good idea to avoid polyols. Replace juices and smoothies with whole fruit and vegetable. And fermented foods. Now, we know that fermented foods have really great benefits. However, if you're prone to bloating, and if you're eating a lot of fermented foods, you might be actually exacerbating bloating. So just go easier on fermented foods. So I'm talking about your sauerkraut, things like kefir, yogurts. So having them in smaller amounts is absolutely fine, but just don't go crazy on them. And some other lifestyle tips. Mindful eating. Maybe you heard about mindful eating, but it is a really amazing tool. It's about really just chewing your food slower, 10, 20 times, even more. Some people with sensitive guts, they need to chew maybe up to 30 times, which is fine. But remember, digestion starts in the mouth, so it is important to chew. So yeah, it's about mindfulness is really about experiencing your food and really being there with your food. So, taking time, not eating when you're stressed, trying to not eat when you're stressed. I know that life is stressful as it is, right? But just trying to have a bit more space and calm around your meals. Wearing loose fit clothes is a good idea instead of very tight clothes. There is such thing as tight pants syndrome, when you have really tight leggings or something, or jeans or skirt. It actually can be sometimes a reason for bloating, so bear in mind. If you suspect food intolerances, then it's a good idea to get tested. Food intolerances can be quite common reasons for bloating. Very common ones are lactose, gluten, FODMAPs. I will be talking about them a little bit more later. And again, mindfulness, things like adding 10-15 minutes of mindfulness to your day, starting your day or finishing your day, or having it in the middle of the day. I know it's not about food directly, but it is, our gut is really sensitive to our brain, and stress can really, really affect our digestion. Okay. Okay, next slide. So if you understand what I'm talking about, can you put pluses in the chat box? Because I want to get this feedback, and just to hear whether I'm talking a bit too, I don't know, scientific, or you understand. If it's relevant as well, just give me pluses in the chat box. And yeah, I can see some pluses. Yay! Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, moving on to diarrhea. So first, let's actually establish what is sort of normal regularity of pooping. It is actually anything between 3 times a week and 3 times a day. And it is quite a wide range, right? But this is the kind of official scientific sort of normal. And I guess the normal is really what is normal to you. So for some people, normal is once a day. For others, it's twice a day. Yeah, but this is the official range, I guess. In terms of diarrhea, I'm going to show you next slide. So there is something called Bristol stool chart. You maybe have seen it before. I use this on a regular basis, pretty much every day with the clients. And this is a visual, I guess, representation of your poop. Yeah, we talk about poop when we talk about digestive system. And so type 1 is constipation or severe constipation, and type 2 is the other end of the scale, which is the severe diarrhea. And type 6, sorry, is mild diarrhea. There are 2 types of diarrhea. There is acute and chronic. Acute usually is, it can either go by itself, or it can be managed with doctor. They can give you some advice. I guess we're going to talk more about chronic one and why they can be happening. Some of the reasons why you might have diarrhea is antibiotics. So it's quite a common side effect of taking antibiotics. It's called antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Some infections, IBS, these things can cause diarrhea. And if you see blood in your stool, in your diarrhea, and if you really have severe diarrhea, really please talk to your GP, because as I said, as a negative consequence, it can be dehydration, and we're not meant to have diarrhea. Okay. Okay, next one, tips to manage chronic diarrhea. So again, having small and frequent meals, quite similar recommendation to the bloating, but it is what it is. It tends to be that it's better to eat smaller meals if you have a chronic diarrhea. Again, it's always worth just trying and then seeing whether that helps. If it doesn't, then you can go back to your sort of, I guess, normal frequency of meals. Avoid foods and fluids that can stimulate the colon. So example is coffee, chili, alcohol, and high fat foods. It can be down to the amount as well. So not just, you don't have to necessarily completely eliminate these, but being mindful about the amounts. And if you want to try, remove them and see whether that makes any difference. Low FODMAP diet. It's quite a, I guess, well, it's the most common dietary approach to try for either diarrhea or IBS in general. IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome. And I will talk a little bit more about low FODMAP diet later. The only thing I would say, don't do low FODMAP diet by yourself. It's not a kind of prescribed diet because it's quite restrictive. So it's always good to have a dietitian guiding you through the process of low FODMAP diet if you decide to follow one. And then there is also something called psyllium husk, which I'm quite a fan of. Psyllium husk is a type of fiber supplement. And what it does, it can help to add bulk to loose stool. So here's the instruction how to take it. So you mix it with water. Also, why I actually like it, you can just add it to your food as just additional sort of fiber source to add more fiber. You know, things like when you cook porridge, soups, just in general sort of liquid stuff, you can add it in, starting with just small amount, like half a tablespoon a day. Every day in a week, and then if that helps, on a second week you increase it to 1 tablespoon per day, and then the third week you can increase to 3, and if that helps, you can take it. You know, there's no really advice that you can't take it long term. It's something like, it's very sort of, I guess, natural in that sense. If there is no improvement, then after 1 month, then you stop. Okay, so I think that's it about chronic diarrhea here. Okay, this is, I think some of you might find this useful, and maybe even for the future, you might find this useful. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of the slide. So I did mention about the effect that antibiotics can have. They can trigger diarrhea. There is some evidence that taking specific probiotics can help to reduce the risk of getting diarrhea. So here's the instruction. So there is, in terms of scientific evidence, there is 2 main strains of the probiotic that have been researched and have proven to be effective. In this particular instance is the Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. The dose is 6 billion CFU, or Saccharomyces boulardii 5 billion CFU. How do you take it? You take it twice a day, 2 hours after breakfast and dinner. And the important thing, you have to take it while taking antibiotics and for 1 week afterwards. So you don't wait until you get diarrhea and then you take it. It's kind of the preventative, I guess, measure. Yeah. Okay, next. Constipation, another very issue. It's about 14% of people, according to some statistics, can experience constipation, which is quite a lot. What is constipation? It's having bowel movements less than 3 times a week. And symptoms include lumpy, dry, and hard poop, straining when passing stool, and feeling like you haven't emptied your bowels. And in terms of the Bristol stool chart, you would be, so type 1 and type 2 are considered constipation. I do want to say as well that your poop shape can change from day to day to a degree, but it shouldn't fluctuate from like type 1 to type 7. You know, normal is considered type 4, I guess. Yeah. Actually, I'll be interested. Go back. I'll be interested to know whether you have seen this Bristol chart before. Yeah, can you put pluses in the chart if you have seen this before, and minus if you haven't seen it before? And I'll have a sip of water. Adi has seen. Fatima hasn't. Okay. Okay, interesting. It's like 50-50. Okay, but you can Google Bristol stool chart and use it for reference and ask your family members, what are you today? Okay, next, potential causes of constipation. There are a few, and they can really vary. For different people, it could be different causes, but these are the most common ones, okay? So being sedentary, as I mentioned before, our digestive system is meant to be moving as much as we need movement for our bodies overall, but sedentary lifestyle can be a cause. Lack of fiber. Fiber is the main bulk of the stool. If you're not getting enough fiber from your diet, that might cause constipation. Stress, anxiety, depression, history of abuse even. So the psychological causes, they can cause constipation. Change of the routine. So what I'm referring to here is things like if you have to travel or fly from one time zone to another, or just fly in general, and your routine changes, that can cause some constipation. To a degree, it's natural, it's normal. And if you usually don't have this constipation problem, usually it resolves by itself. Yeah, but unless it's kind of really a common thing. Your childhood toilet experiences. Now that's interesting. So it's what I'm talking about here is if as a child you were sort of interrupted and pressured to go at specific times, or interrupted at specific times, actually in adulthood, that can create problems with you having sort of regular and very comfortable bowel movements. And ignoring the urge to go as well. So if you want to go, you need to go, because otherwise, the gut is the muscle. It can adjust to you kind of not allowing it its natural rhythm. So it's important to not ignoring the urge. Pregnancy is a very common one, and also dehydration. So I think the top two are actually lack of fiber and dehydration. And they're actually related. One thing I would say is if you increase in fiber in your diet, but you're not increasing your hydration, that can cause constipation, because fiber without enough water, it actually can make the opposite effect. It can make you even more constipated. So when you increase more fiber, when you get more fiber in the diet, make sure you're hydrated enough. That's a sign for me to hydrate. Okay, next. So tips to manage constipation. As a rule of thumb, get enough fiber, which is 30 grams per day, every day. It's essential for healthy bowel movements. Maybe you have heard about this recommendation before. 30 grams per day. It's very, yeah, it's written in quite a lot of nutritional advice. So, and that's the according to the guidelines, to the NHS guidelines, that's the amount that we need to aim for. Hydration, as I said, is very important. There's no like a very strict amount you have to drink of water or fluids, but it's as a reference, it's something between 1.5 and 2 liters of fluid per day. And also fluid, so it doesn't mean you have to just drink water. Fluids count just in general. Teas, even coffees actually count. Now, coffee has a mild dehydrating or diuretic effect. So we can't put coffee equivalent to water, In terms of the nutrition and diet, so prunes and kiwis can be effective or helpful. You can have it every day. If tolerated well, double the amount and continue for 3 weeks and see if that helps. Psyllium husk, it's here again. You might be wondering, Lisa, you talked about psyllium husk for diarrhea. Why are you talking about this constipation? Because psyllium husk has this really, unique property that it can be helpful for both diarrhea and constipation, because it has this overall modulating, effect on stool. So I guess that's one of the reasons why I really like psyllium husk, because it has this quite unique application. Again, you can add it to water, porridge, soup. What's again very important with psyllium husk is to get enough hydration, enough fluids in you. A ground flaxseed has similar effect to psyllium husk. I have a lot of clients who say that flaxseed, linseed is really, really helpful. One thing I would say here, it has to be grounded, not whole seeds, to work its magic. And again, the great thing is that it's seeds in the end of the day. You can just add more of them into your food. They're not like supplements, you know. Add to yogurts, salad toppings. It's an additional fiber, so it will contribute to your 30 grams of fiber a day. It has minerals, like all nuts and seeds have minerals, like zinc, magnesium, etc. Gradually increase up to 2 tablespoons a day over 4 weeks if needed. And in terms of probiotics, again, there are a few probiotic strains that have been shown to be effective in managing constipation. And you can see here it's Lactobacillus plantarum, Bifidobacterium brevi in combination, and then it's separately Bifidobacterium lactis, specifically these letters, LPO1. So it's not any Lactobacillus plantarum. It has to be these letters in the end and numbers. What's the dose? It's 5 billion CFU per day for 4 weeks, first thing in the morning. Tabi flaxseed containing supplements suitable. I guess maybe. I mean, it depends what else is in the supplement, you know. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I can resist, but look at the chat box. Okay, let's move on. So that has been already. So we have done 2 things. We have talked about the common digestive issues, and I have told you how to manage and solve them. Yeah. If you get stuck and you really feel like nothing that I've talked about at some point helps, talk to your doctor, talk to your GP, see a dietitian. It might be something else underlying. Okay. These are more sort of lifestyle things, because I'm not here to give obviously personalized advice. I can do it via the consultation, but otherwise, you know, you can obviously talk to a doctor. So next, what we're going to talk about, what can you do today to improve your gut health, and what is the digestion-friendly diet? Let me just check time. Okay. So the power of gut bacteria. I have already mentioned it before. Gut bacteria are really fascinating. It's a really fascinating topic. And here you can see what is related to having a healthy and balanced microbiome versus unbalanced or unhealthy microbiome. So microbiome or bacteria, they can produce this superhero chemical. It's called butyrate. And butyrate has this amazing effect. It can strengthen the gut barrier, gut lining. It can really sort of control inflammation in the gut. So we really like butyrate. And the key thing is we can't get butyrate from food in the amounts that we need in the gut. But what we can do, we can look after our gut microbes so that they in turn can make or produce butyrate. So we have this really mutual relationship with our gut bacteria. Healthy microbiome is related to efficient metabolism of drugs and deactivating toxins. It can prevent invasion from bad microbes. Yeah, so they are controlling sort of each other. We want to have more of the good bacteria, quote unquote, and less bad bacteria. There is communication with other organs. So interestingly, gut microbiome is sometimes referred to as this new organ based on the amount of different processes and the importance of it that happens in relation to our whole body and organism. So yeah, it's really booming topic now in the research over the past, I would say 10, 20 years. And they can help to prevent diseases. So we're talking about diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol, colon cancer. The gut microbiome is related to these diseases. And also interestingly, gut bacteria can make vitamins. Now, of course, we're getting vitamins from food. when we eat, but also we have our bacteria that can make some of the vitamins. Yeah. And then if we look at sort of unbalanced microbiome, potential lack of butyrate production, we're more vulnerable to sort of invasion of bad microbes when it's less balanced, less sort of diverse. There is poor communication with other organs. And what is really fascinating and quite, like wow, is that microbiome, or unhealthy or unbalanced microbiome, is linked to over 70 different conditions. Just think about it, over 70 different conditions. So it's important. And also poor vitamin synthesis. So let me know in the chat with your pluses. Do you think that gut microbiome is important for ourselves based on what we talked about? Yes, yes, plus. Okay, great. So we all agree here. Someone put 5 pluses. Okay, we're convinced. Right, then let's move on to the next one. Okay, do you agree that microbiome is important? Yes, we agree. Do you want to take control of your health with the help of microbiome? Yes or no? Again, in the chat box. Do you want to know what you can do to take control of the health and your microbiome? Yes. Great. So there are, when you do search in Pubmed or the scientific portals, there are over 50,000 research papers, articles published on gut microbiome since 2000. So in the last 21 years, 50,000. It's a lot. So there is a lot of scientific focus now on the microbiome, and for a reason, because there is still things we don't know, but there are already things that we know and we can take action on. So Atlas Biomed is a company that can help you to look inside of you and know which bacteria, which microbes live there and what you can do. So at Atlas Microbiome, we developed a test. It was developed by scientists using the latest research, cutting-edge tech, and research. And so essentially what it is, it's a poop test. So you submit like a small piece, and by doing that, the very sophisticated technology machinery can analyze which bacteria live in your gut and in which proportions. So what you can learn how many microbes, how microbes protect you from disease, how the diet that you currently eating affects your gut bacteria. You can learn how to optimize the synthesis of the vitamins by your microbiome. What is the kind of your potential to break down the fiber and different foods? And my favorite part is that you're given personalized food recommendations. You get a report on which bacteria, which probiotics and other good bacteria live in your gut, in which proportions. So it's really cool. You actually get to know exactly what is inside of you, not just in theory. You get to look inside of your own body, inside of your own gut. We also have an anti-inflammatory potential report. So essentially, what this is about, there are some bacteria that can have a potential to increase inflammation, and there are other bacteria that can decrease inflammation. And we are doing that. We're looking at lots of these different bacteria, and then we kind of come up with the report on the inflammation. And also you get a free gut health consultation with me usually. So this is really, I think, useful. The consultation is it's 30 minutes, and this is where we can talk about your results, and I can help you to understand them, because results can be sometimes quite tricky to understand, because there is a lot of scientific words, etc. So there's a free consultation included. So you get to know in general about your health, different health scores. You can get to know the disease risks. Again, in terms of nutrition, you know which bacteria live, which probiotics, good bacteria. We also can look at your pathogenic bacteria. Some people really like that part of the report. To get to know kind of maybe which pathogenic bacteria live there, and hopefully they are in very low or zero proportion. You get to know the diversity of your microbiome. This is the thing. The health of microbiome, the health of the gut, is really about the diversity. We want to have nice and diverse bacteria. I usually give this analogy of the garden. So if you have a really nice, rich garden with lots of different plants, it's better than just very, small garden with very few plants and very low diversity. So it's kind of similar analogy with our bacteria. We want to have a really rich and diverse garden. It's a sign of healthy microbiome. You get to know your microbiome's ability to break down lactose and gluten. It's quite a new report actually, and it's a really useful one. Food recommendations, they get updated weekly on your personal account. And of course, you get to know the bacterial composition. So you get a list of the bacteria that are found in your microbiome, in your gut, and what sort of type of bacteria you have. Okay, so how the test works, it looks like this. It's like a little box. I will talk about this in just a moment. So as I said, it's a test. You collect just a very small amount of the stool, just about pea size, so it's really small. Send it for analysis. You get it delivered at home and you post it. It's very easy. You don't have to go anywhere. And what's really cool about this technology, it analyzes the DNA of the bacteria. So it's not just a count of the bacteria. It's very cool new technology where we screen the DNA, the genes of your bacteria, and based on that, we can see the proportion, the composition of these bacteria in the gut. And then you get the results in your personal account. They get uploaded there. So we're very proud to have positive reviews on Trustpilot, and people find that they do get to know themselves more. They get to know their bodies better. They get personalized recommendations. After the consultation, I also obviously give practical tips, practical advice, not just the things that you sort of have to do, but the things that you can do, because our lives are busy. We don't have all the time to just invest, I guess, in our health, although some people do, and that's great. But most of us have other things to do, and our job and my job there is to help you to really get the practical, most useful, and reasonable tips. So there's no point of me giving you, telling you what to do if you're not going to do it. So I'm here on your side. In that sense, to help you be the healthiest you can with realistic effort and expectations. We're featured in media as well: CNBC, CTAM, DNA Testing Choice, The Telegraph, and The Mirror. So it's our pride in that sense. And as I mentioned before, you can book a one-to-one consultation with me. That's after you get the results of the test. So we can't give the consultation obviously before you get the test, because I don't have this information on about yourself, about your test, about your microbiome. The reason why we have this test for free is because based on experience, we realized that by yourself, it can be quite difficult to understand all the results. There is a lot of different information on the dashboard. You get over 100-page report, so it is a lot of things to read. And yeah, by based on experience, sometimes people get a little bit lost. So that's why we decided to give this consultation for free, to make sure that you understand, and most importantly, you know what to do. It's about 30 minutes. We can have follow-ups. So I talk to people every so often, every few months, couple of months, to just track the progress. And summary of the session I sent by email as well. So what else we discussed in the consultation? My job is to make sure you understand it, you know what to eat, what things to add. We have really, I guess, flexible approach. We don't give you the sort of forbidden foods, because I don't believe in restrictive diets. I think that healthy diet is a diverse diet, and different foods have their place in the diet. It's about the amounts, it's about the proportions, which foods are the dominating foods in my diet, which foods are not dominating foods. And personalized nutrition advice. You get to know how to improve your gut health and digestion, and consequently your health, because as we talked before, poor microbiome is related to over 70 different health conditions. That's a lot. And if there is something we can do, why not? Because I'm sure you probably have heard, prevention is better than cure, and it really is. And this is the power of food and nutrition and lifestyle. We can do the right thing. We can do our best to reduce our risk of lots of chronic diseases. We're living in a crisis of non-communicable diseases, so things like diabetes, obesity, cholesterol, and these things have relation to gut health as well. The consultations we hold via Zoom, which is very useful usually for people. Okay, so I'm not just talking about the test and not giving you a special offer, right? So there is a very special offer. It's a 30% discount. So it's not clickable here. My colleague will post now in the chat box the link to the kit. Just have a look at the chat box. Dmitry, yes, he has done it. Fantastic. What I want to say, the offer is live until the end of the webinar. So it's a very time limited offer. So make sure that if you're interested, if you're curious, get your discounted kit today, now. Okay, more about the Atlas test as a summary. So you get to know the proportion of probiotics, the good bacteria, beneficial bacteria in your gut. You get to know what's your microbiome ability to break down lactose and gluten. You get to know the butyrate, which is the very beneficial chemical. What's the potential for your microbes to produce the butyrate. You get to know the vitamin synthesis potential, inflammation profile, and also you get weekly food recommendations, things to add to your diet to improve your gut health. Make sure, just go back to, if I just go back to the link, when you click there, you need to kind of scroll down. And what I want to say, the discount is already applied, so you don't need to do anything. You don't need to put any words, any promo code. It's already applied. You just scroll down. Actually, maybe I will show you actually now how to do it. So let me just here. So this is, I don't know if you can see the link. You just scroll a little bit low. You go to proceed to checkout. You need to put your name and your email, your phone number, and then proceed. So it's hopefully very easy. And the discount is already applied. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about fiber and gut health. So when we talk about microbiome health, gut health, there is a lot of emphasis on fiber. And I will tell you why. Fiber is really food, not for us, but for our microbes. Back in the day, when we didn't know how important the fiber is, we used to think that it's just this useless part of the component of the foods, and we don't need it. Let's discard it. So that's, I guess, one of the reasons why we have a lot of very processed breads that have very low fiber, because the fiber is essentially the outer shell of the grain. So it's been stripped, removed, so we just get the starchy bit. But actually now we know that fiber is really, really important for our health, and very important for the health of the microbiome, health of digestion. So these are a few kind of features or functions, jobs of the fiber. It helps to, it absorbs water and adds bulk to your stool. So going back to our constipation, diarrhea, yeah, so fiber is important. It helps us to feel fuller for longer. And that's obviously relevant if you one of your goals is to lose weight or weight management in general. That feeling of such is about how to manage your hunger. So feeling fuller with the help of fiber is the key. Fiber, excuse me, fiber feeds gut microbes that keep the gut healthy. Again, fiber is the main fuel, is the main food, if you will, for our gut bacteria. It also helps to prevent the blood sugar spikes. So maybe you remember when you eat something really high sugar and low fiber, I don't know, like let's say some dessert or something, or croissant or something like that, or some sweets, you might experience this quick energy up increase and then quick energy drop. So one of the reasons is because there is no fiber, but also, of course, it's higher sugar. So fiber helps to sort of level this rise of blood sugar level and make it more stable. And when it's more stable, you also have more stable energy, and more stable energy is important for you to, go throughout your day to feel more productive, again, to feel fuller for longer. So yeah, fiber is really important here as well. It can help to lower your cholesterol level. So adding more fibrous foods help to reduce bad cholesterol. And so if you have cholesterol, maybe you're not getting enough fiber in your diet. It helps to reduce the risk of common diseases like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers, particularly colon cancer. Okay, because lack of fiber and having bad diet, low fiber, higher saturated fat, high trans fats can increase the risk of colon cancer. I'm just looking at the chat box. Vicky says, I joined late. You said the test was free, but then you said, no, the consultation is free when you get the test. So the consultation is included. The test is not for free, but it is heavily discounted. So yeah, just maybe Dmitry can duplicate the link for people who joined later. Yeah. Okay. Is it fiber? I thought it was soluble fiber only. So soluble fiber is a type of fiber. Yeah, but there is actually more than just soluble and insoluble. There are different types of fiber. I'm not going to go into different types because it's a bit more, it's outside of the scope of this webinar. Okay. Okay, let me just check the time. I think we're doing okay. Yeah. So, nutrition for the gut. Knowing which foods to add, which foods to include more of, which foods to include less of, can really reflect on the health of our gut microbiome. Again, fiber, so plant foods, essentially as a group, plant foods are the main, I guess, focus when we talk about the health of the microbiome. Because animal foods like meat, eggs, fish, they don't have fiber. Fiber is only a component of plant foods. And that's important to know, okay? That's not to say you have to go vegan. No, you can just, increase some foods, decrease other foods. Improving diversity. So I mentioned in the beginning that diversity is one of the most important markers of microbiome health. And during the test, you can know what is the diversity, what is your diversity score? So how diverse is your microbiome? And of course, you get also the list of and names and proportions of good beneficial bacteria. We recommend to do a repeated test after 3 months, something around 3 months. I'm going to repeat mine very soon because it's time for me to repeat. I do it myself regularly to see how the benefit of it is you can see how the diet change that you make, how it reflects on your microbiome. Because this is the fascinating thing is that our microbiome can change and we have some influence on it. So that's why it's really, I guess, practical. So you can do something and you can see, okay, is it helping me? In which way is it helping me? Okay. How to build a digestion-friendly diet. So some of the bullet points, I guess, on what is the digestion-friendly diet. Gut fiber, as we said, lower amount of saturated fat, trans fat, so those also apply. In terms of I guess, the most simple advice I can give is eat the rainbow. Having lots of colors, lots of types, having a diverse diet is having a healthy diet. Aim to have, to consume about 30 different plant foods per week. Okay, 30 different plant foods a week. Actually here, I was going to remove this, but since I didn't remove from the slide, I will give you will get another bonus from this webinar, and it's my plant-based diversity assessment. It's a very easy sort of PDF sort of table graph where you can calculate how many different plant foods do you have a week. Do you get 30? Most people don't. The people, at least that I see in my practice. So see how you're doing. One of my colleagues, I think Dmitry, will post the link, should post the link in the chat box. If you can just ask to do it. Okay, fantastic. So Luis has done it. So it's a plant quiz. Make sure you click on it and or just save the link for yourself. So if you obviously want to stay, don't leave us just now. Okay, in terms of portions, so you probably have heard about 5 a day. Now that's about vegetables and fruit. Now veggies and fruit are not the only two plant foods. We also have whole grains. We also have nuts and seeds. We also have beans and pulses. We have herbs and spices. All of these belong to this group of plant foods. Okay, and here I give you a practical portion guide, because people say, okay, I know I need to get 5 a day, 5 portions a day, but what is a portion? So here it is. Portion of fruit and veg is 80 grams approximately. You don't have to measure it precisely, okay? It's just as a guide. Portion of nuts and or seeds is 30 grams, or about like a handful. Grains, 2 to 3 heaped tablespoons. Pasta is 1 handful in uncooked form. So you measure it and then you cook it, of course. But this will be 1 portion. Now, you'll probably realize that for most of us, a portion of pasta is more than 1 handful, which I guess it's okay, but it's just to get to know what is a portion. So you don't have to have a lot. We're not talking about a whole bowl. In terms of beans and pulses, 3 tablespoons will be considered a portion. And then herbs so half a teaspoon, so quite small proportion, quite a small amount already counts as a portion. For other foods, so like protein sources, this is the guide as well. 160 grams of chicken breast in a raw form is the portion. Now, of course, then you cook it, but it's just when it's cooked, it's usually a lower weight because you lose the water. 2 eggs is a portion. White fish, it's about 140 to 195 grams in raw weight. Lean beef means 125 grams. Salmon, 125 to 165. So again, it's a range. Red and processed meats. These are probably, out of all of these foods, these are the ones that need to be limited. There is quite convincing evidence that too much of red and processed meat is linked to higher risk of colon cancer. So try to not have more than 500 grams per week. It's about 2 small to medium portions. So definitely not every day. Try not to have meat, red meat every day. White meat is okay. It doesn't, it's not included in the red and processed meats. Okay. Moving on. Let me just go back here quickly. Let me know in the chat, are you okay with this? Are you happy? Do you understand now a little bit more about what is a digestion-friendly diet? Where is your pluses? Okay, I can see some. Okay. Next, so let's talk about a group of carbohydrates that are called FODMAPs. Linda, is it okay to cut out gluten? Hold on to the question, okay? I will try to get back to that later. I'm just quite cautious with time. So FODMAP is a group of carbohydrates. It stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. So very complicated name. So just call them FODMAPs. So what's specific about them? They are very highly fermentable by our gut bacteria. And they are really, we can find FODMAPs in many different plant foods. So I guess what I want to say here, don't add loads of fiber like straight away in one day into your diet. Be quite mindful and quite gradual with the amount of kind of adding and changes that you're doing. Because otherwise it can cause the abdominal discomfort, flatulence, especially people report that after eating beans, pulses, some vegetables, some fruit can cause this. And some of us are more sensitive to FODMAPs than others, again, because they are very highly fermentable fibers and they can cause bloating and discomfort. Here I included the sources, the foods that where you can find your FODMAPs. So for example, oligosaccharides, we can find them in wheat, rye, some fruit and vegetables, onion, garlic, for example, and they also can be added to food as a prebiotic. Beans and pulses and legumes, so lentils can contain them or do contain them. Disaccharides, so lactose, maybe lactose is natural sugar in milk, in dairy products. Also, some people are sensitive to lactose. A lot of people are actually lactose intolerant these days. I'm not going to tell you the statistics off the top of my head, but it can be quite prevalent, especially in older age. So children are usually more lactose tolerant, and with age we tend to lose to a degree that ability to break down lactose. Interestingly, your bacteria can actually break down lactose. So sometimes that actually helps. If your gut bacteria, or if you have quite a good amount of specific bacteria that break down lactose, you might be better at tolerating lactose. And again, going back to, how can you learn about this? If you do the test, you can find out your microbiome ability to break down lactose, which is really cool. So fruits, juices, honey, high fructose corn syrup contains fructose, and polyols, I mentioned them. So they are sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, and naturally they can be found in some fruit and vegetables, but more often we find them in low calorie kind of bars, like sports bars, protein bars, chewing gum, and just other low calorie products. Okay. And again, as a last sort of, I guess, disclaimer here, low FODMAP diet is very restrictive. So it should be guided by a dietitian. If you want to try, if you feel like you need to, please don't do it yourself. Please seek health advice and guidance by a healthcare professional. Okay, a little bit more about gluten, lactose, and their relation to microbiome. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, lactose can be broken down by partially by this bacteria: Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Faecalibacterium, and Rhizoburia. Very fancy names. What I really love is all these bacteria have really cool names. Very common, very kind of well-known ones are Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, but there is way more. There is like 1,000 species or something like that. So it's really a lot of them, and yeah, not even all of them we know, which is again quite fascinating topic. Anyway, so these bacteria can break down and absorb lactose. There is some evidence that if we supplement with galacto-oligosaccharides, or GOS for short, that can help with symptoms of lactose intolerance. And again, you can do the test and you find out how many of these you have in your large intestine. With regards to gluten, so just as a brief overview, what is gluten? Gluten is a type of protein that is found in grains, specifically in wheat, rye, barley, malt, and the products that are made from these grains. So technically, it will be your breads, your pasta, and it can be added to foods very much. So gluten is a quite complicated topic, so it can be a whole webinar on itself. So I'm not going to go into lots of details about it. But what I do want to say as well is, from the microbiome perspective, some bacteria can break down components in gluten, which is called gliadin, and it can let me start again. Some bacteria can break down the gliadin, which is a component in gluten, into some particles that can cause an immune reaction. Now, Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, they can break down this gliadin into harmless particles. So again, you can see how our bacteria, they can help to control this this process of, and they can break down the gliadin, the components in gluten into sort of harmless particles. And again, in the test, in the report rather, you do get a whole section on the lactose metabolism, on the gluten metabolism, and what you can do to work with it if you need to. Okay. So which you learn which food to add to improve your scores. So this is just a sort of example of how the results look like. So you're given this every week. You're given a list of these foods that are advised for you to add. It's just an example, okay? And then you can put ticks. So the dashboard is quite interactive. So you can put ticks. You can so that for yourself, that when you know that you add foods. So, and as I said, they are updated weekly. So this is how the dashboard looks like. So it's very sort of colorful, user-friendly, but again, there is also consultation, as I mentioned, to discuss the results. You get to know the diversity score, the food recommendations, even the disease protection. So we look at some of the diseases that are related to microbiome, obesity, diabetes type 2, Crohn's disease, colitis, ulcerative colitis, and coronary heart disease. And you can get, again, the sort of risk assessment from the microbiome perspective. Okay. Vitamins and nutrition, so you get to know the vitamin synthesis, so how well your bacteria can produce vitamins, and how that may influence nutrient level in the body. Dietary fiber, so we also have a really interesting section on dietary fiber metabolism. Basically, you get this score on how well your bacteria can break down fiber. Okay. And butyrate, again, butyrate is probably one of my favorite sections of the report, just because the amount of, I guess, literature around it, it's quite fascinating how this little chemical can contribute to health. It's a type of short chain fatty acid that bacteria produce. So we can't get it from food, but our bacteria can produce it, and then we benefit from it. Again, you can see how we have this really tight and mutual relationship with our microbes. When you feed yourself, next time you're going to have, if you're going to have dinner today, or maybe you had it on your breakfast tomorrow, bear in mind, what's on your plate, it's not just food for yourself, it's also food for your bacteria. Again, a few kind of snapshot here on how the results look like. You get this sort of the diversity of microbiome, the microbiome type. There are 3 main types, and you get to know which type are you. Nationality score. So that's based on the fact that people living in different places have different microbiomes. So someone living in Germany or in London can have different microbiome from someone living in Japan. And again, this is where obviously our lifestyles and the food that we eat shape our microbiome. So a few kind of logistical things. What happens after you order the test? I will show you. So you receive the kit. It looks like this, little box. It fits in the post box, which is really useful. And it's a prepaid. You don't have, so when you send it back, you don't have to pay. It's free. It's a prepaid. What's inside? I have to. Inside you have, so this is how the box looks like. Hopefully you can see. There are some instructions here, so it's very, we try to do our best to make it as easy to follow as possible. And usually people don't have any problems with following it. This is the pack where you get, you can open it, you get a tube. This is how it looks. And this is where you collect your poop, just a small amount again. And you, after you put it in, you shake it and you put it back in the box. You put it here, you just close it. Let me show the picture here. Yeah. Also, just as a note, there is a very important barcode that you have to register so that everything is uploaded to your personal dashboard online. And then it's easy because you put it in your nearest post box. As I said, it's prepaid, so you don't have to pay for anything, and it fits perfectly into this hole. So yeah, you don't need to go anywhere, just, well, I mean, to your nearest post box. Judy, do you get 4 weeks recommendations for one test? You get more than 3 weeks. They are updated weekly. So basically how it is, there is like lots of different foods that you can add, but we give you them weekly, different ones weekly, and then they are kind of updating and changing. Yeah, so more than 4 weeks. Okay. And then when we receive it in the lab, it's analyzed, interpreted. What I want to say is that it can take a few weeks, couple of weeks to get the results. And that's because, you know, the process is quite, well, technologically advanced, so we have to wait for it. But when you buy it, you actually get it, I think 2 days after. So you receive it quickly. It's just when your results are ready, it can take some time. And then the results are uploaded, you get a notification, and then you can book your consultation. Again, just as a reminder here, so how it looks like. So it's a 30-minute consultation via Zoom. It's free, it's included. It's what else? The summary of the session is recommended. Recommendations are sent by email after, and then we can also agree for follow-up appointments. And also, of course, you can, during the consultation, you can ask any questions you have, any sort of general nutrition questions, of course, about the microbiome, lifestyle. So I try to make it as holistic as possible, the consultation and the advice. Okay. So just to repeat again, if you haven't get a chance to go to that link, it's a 30% off. If you just click on the link that was provided by Dmitry, the discount is already applied. And if you're paying attention, you will notice that there is a typo. It's digestion day 30. That's the promo code, not digestion. So I do apologize. It happens. We're just humans. So once again, that's how it looks. Yeah. I think we can move to the next one. Again, if you're curious, if you're interested, don't lose your chance to grab it now, because the offer is live only until the end of the webinar, and the link is provided. Okay. We are approaching the end. I do value your attention, so thank you so much for everyone who's staying. Judy, how long is the offer? Yes, only now. Only, sorry, until the end of the webinar. So it's very, yeah, it's very limited. Okay, now the bonus for those of you who stayed until the end. As promised, the bonus is the book about the microbiome. You get to read. It's very, you know, we put all the necessary information about gut health, gut microbiome in that book. So it's an additional bonus for you to boost your knowledge even more. And hopefully you fall in love with gut microbiome like myself, like we are at Atlas, and hence that's why we're doing this. We're doing we're trying to help people improve their microbiome based on the how much it's related and relevant to our overall health, our overall lifestyle, quality of life, and consequently happiness, right? The book is called The Secret of Life of Gut Bacteria. And if I'm correct, you will receive it into your inbox. Okay, Q&A. We have done it. Let me go through your questions. Just check the time. Okay, so let's put a cap. So I need to time myself so I don't because I can go on and talk a lot about this stuff. So 10 minutes, I start the timer. I have 10 minutes to answer your questions. So right now, if you have any questions, if it's really kind of high up, if you ask your questions in the beginning, just do repeat it so that I can see it now. So Linda asks, can I just cut out gluten, wheat? If so, am I missing on useful nutrients? Okay, you probably shouldn't just cut out gluten and wheat because it's really unnecessary unless you have gluten intolerance, celiac disease, or or you have intolerance to wheat or wheat allergy and things like that. If you're suspicious, if you suspect that you might be, then it's worth checking with your doctor, with a healthcare professional who is trained in this. But it's really not necessary to just cut out gluten and wheat. I know that there is a lot of information now online on how bad gluten and wheat are, but trust me, it's not universally bad for everyone. The thing is, when and if you remove gluten-containing foods, which are your whole grains, okay, like whole wheat and barley, and as whole grains, they're actually really nutritious. So you are right, you might be missing on some nutrients if you unnecessarily remove gluten. If you do have to remove it, gluten and wheat, just make sure that you are, I guess, aware and educated on what to replace it with. Because yes, there are still grains, whole grains that are naturally gluten-free, but you need to be aware about them. Again, during the consultation, I usually discuss this, and I can give you sort of a list of foods that can be gluten-free, but that it will make sure that you will still don't miss out on any nutrients. Okay. Sarah, I thought for some fiber makes it worse. Makes it worse for what? Are you referring to like symptoms, like gut health symptoms? The thing is, too much fiber is a thing. Yes. So it's not that you just have to, add loads, and sometimes you have to be mindful still about it. It's a bit of trial and error. But I guess it depends, yeah, what we're talking about, Sarah. Is the test able to recognize gluten and wheat intolerances, even if it's already been eliminated from your diet? First of all, we don't diagnose your gluten intolerance or wheat intolerance based on the test. What it can give us, it can give us some insight into what role of your gut bacteria play in gluten metabolism. But it's not this sort of a diagnosis. We can't give you diagnosis of gluten intolerance. It's an additional tool that can help you to understand and explore your body. Okay, Sarah, IBS is worse with fiber. I think what you might experience worsening is with the FODMAPs, those highly fermentable carbohydrates. In that case, this is when for IBS, the low FODMAP diet can be helpful to at least find out which foods you're sensitive to, which fibers you're sensitive to. but it might not be the fiber itself. It might be that your gut is sensitive to lots of stuff, and fiber is one of them, you know. But yeah, Sarah, it's very, I guess to answer the question better, I need to know a bit more about yourself and, you know, your symptoms, what you eat, what you don't eat, and all that stuff. But you are right, fiber, it can trigger, but it depends which fibers and how much and all this nuance. Unfortunately, it's all about nuance. I have a friend with gut issues. Could I pass the link to her, and would she get the 30% discount on the test and free follow-up? Yes, just give her the link as soon as possible, like now, so that she has time to grab it. Yeah, again, Dimitri provide the link above somewhere. Maybe we can repeat it again. Do you recommend psyllium husk to people with celiac? Well, psyllium husk is gluten-free. So, and celiac is obviously someone who can't tolerate gluten. So I guess, yeah, why not? Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Let me see how the time, we have a little bit of more time. So you're saving £59 if you'll get the test today. And what I want to say as well, do follow us on social media, subscribe to our blog. We have loads and loads and loads of useful information. This is just a small part of it, this webinar. And if you have any questions, any queries, you can email us at hello@atlasbiomed.com. And we're there to, if you have any questions. So for time for you to, I want to stay for a bit longer so that you have chance to grab your kit. I don't want to end this webinar to, show this time. So let's have about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And maybe I can actually go. I think I have covered everything. And what I want to say as well is that the microbiome science is very quickly evolving. So what we're doing here at Atlas, we are always up to date. So when and if we need to update some of the literature, some of the results, we do it regularly. We have scientific papers that are linked to the test. So when you get your results on your dashboard, you can see the references to the scientific publication. So it's all really based on the evidence, available evidence, and of course it's evolving. So I always invite people to be as open to new science as we are, because it's very fast evolving. It's relatively new. You have seen on the slide that only over the past 20 years, 50,000 scientific literature papers have been published. And that just tells you, how much, how the scientific community is invested in gut health, because it's very relevant to a lot of health conditions. Okay, 1 minute left. Just gonna wait here for the link to your relatives, your friends, if they find it useful. Share it as well. We want to organize more of these webinars, so keep an eye on the on our website and social media to be updated. Okay. So let me just scroll here quickly. I think the time is up. And I would like to thank everyone for your attendance. Thank you for giving me your evening today. And I hope that you found something useful for yourself. I hope that you, you enjoyed it, you gained some knowledge, you got some answers to your questions. I hope that I didn't disappoint you. And yeah, thank you very much. And I'll see you somewhere maybe in our social media, and do subscribe to our website and social media and emails, and we will keep you updated with all the new stuff coming around. So thanks everyone. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Nourish your microbes, and so that they are happy, healthy, and they are nourishing you in return. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Vicky.